I mentioned Joel Webbon earlier in the stream, and I think I need to mention him again right now. This is a guy who, every single time I talk about him, my audience calls him Discount Matt Walsh or Temu Matt Walsh, and, like, I'm not gonna lie, I see it. I see it. I can't not think of him as Temu Matt Walsh now. Every time I see this guy, those are the thoughts that go through my head, and I hate it. I hate it. But he's got some words he wants to say right now. What are they? What's going on?
This whole witch hunt for white supremacists who hate brown people simply because they're brown. The reason why that's so lucrative, and there are NGOs with millions and millions of dollars for that, is because the white people in America are predominantly, on the whole, not racist.
Yeah. The argument is not that white people predominantly are racist. I don't think it's been that argument for at least the last 30 years. The argument is that there are institutions that are racist that we need to have an eye on. A classic one would be the KKK. Hell, in my own backyard, in Stone Mountain, which isn't exactly where I live, but I consider it land in my backyard, so that gives you an idea of how far I'm willing to stretch that term. Was it the third, I want to say? The third reformation of the KKK happened at Stone Mountain? Joel, what are you talking about? What possibly could you be talking about right now? Witch hunts? About people who hate black people? Weird. Let's figure out what you're talking about.
White people in America are, if anything, I think, too trusting, too gullible, toxic empathy. White people.
So the problem isn't that white people aren't racist. The problem is that they trust those damn dirty black people too much. Is that really the takeaway you want us to have here, Joel?
People in America are like, you know what? I know that this will kill my grandchildren, but can we just import half of the country of Haiti?
How will it kill your grandchildren to have more brown people in the United States? How? How do you get that? How do you jump from we took in refugees to my grandchildren died? How do you get there? How do you manage that?
You know, just to be nice. Like, so not only is racism non-existent, if anything, we could probably use a little bit more racism in America.
So, if anybody might have thought that I was taking him out of context when I said that the issue is that the white people aren't racist enough, no! That's his actual statement. That's what he thinks. He thinks that America isn't racist enough, and he wants it to be even more racist. So that was a quick, we aren't racist to we need to be more racist. Right. So what's he talking about? He's talking about the SPLC. He's talking about the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which the Donald Trump's DOJ is currently going after because, according to the DOJ, unbeknownst to donors, a bunch of money was being funneled from the SPLC into hate groups like the KKK. Now, technically, that is a true statement. Technically, that statement is true. It is omitting a lot of important information, but the individual words themselves are not lies. What has actually happened there, though, and I've gone over this in another video, I'll do it again here. What's actually happened is that the SPLC has paid informants. They have paid informants because you can't get information on a secretive organization strictly by sitting back and watching from afar. It doesn't work. It never works. It can't work. You get your information on secret organizations by going into those secret organizations, infiltrating them, and getting the information you can from the horse's mouth. That's how it works. Melbourne says, kind of like how the FBI does. Actually, Mel, would you like to know, for hate organizations, who the FBI has relied on in the past to infiltrate organizations and give the FBI information? The SPLC. The Southern Poverty Law Center. Their data goes straight to the FBI. They're the ones that did that. That's a thing they've done for years. Joel, I wish there was more racism. Actually, Webbon doesn't want us to be able to look at the KKK from the inside out and figure out when the fuck they're going to try to lynch somebody. He doesn't want that. He wants a world where America's actually more racist. And again, Those are the words he said. Those are his actual words. And there's plenty of content creators who have gone over him in the past. I've done it as well. There's this one channel called By the Books Ministries, which I was looking for this video from Joel and I couldn't find it. So I found somebody talking about it. So I'm going to be looking at it from their video. So thank you, By the Book Ministries, for having this available for us to talk about.
Listen, I declare this will be the year of overflow in your life. That everything God has promised will come to pass. Let it start in your mind, go to your heart, and end up in your family. And whenever you hear it say, I'm just trying to live in the overflow. That ain't me talking, that's the Holy Ghost. Go and get the bag, give me back for the...
Okay, so there's plenty of reasons to criticize that, but none of it has anything to do with them being black.
90 to 95% of the black church in America is objectively, by the standards of Scripture, heretical. It doesn't even constitute a true church.
Okay, so again, we need more racism in the United States. Webbon looks at people who are ostensibly on his side and fires rounds at them going, no, they're not real Christians. Now, there's plenty of things, like I said, that we can criticize for that in that video. None of it has anything to do with them being black. We can criticize the fact that having a song about overflow in the church really reeks to high hell of prosperity gospel, and prosperity gospel, by its nature, is one of the most predatory versions of Christianity that has ever been weaponized against the populace. And I could argue that I didn't like the music itself because it's not my jam. And that's about as far as I can go. Like, the issues there aren't that they're black. The issues there aren't that they're dancing. The issues there aren't that they're having fun. My issue begins and ends primarily with the fact that it sounds like prosperity gospel. And prosperity gospel, the idea that if you donate to the church, Jesus will give it back to you tenfold, is utter horseshit. And it is a super predatory way to get your grandma to give her life savings to whichever church she happens to be watching on the fucking old tube TV at the time. Jessica Davis says, my dad went to a friend's church who's black once when he was younger. He was exhausted afterwards because it was so fun. Right. Again, the issue there isn't that it is a church of people having fun. But I guarantee you that's Joel Webbon's version of it. He does not like the church because it is a bunch of black people having fun. That's where he's at right now. Anyway, let's continue.
They're teaching things that are absolutely in direct opposition to the Christian faith. If you listen to the message and you believe what they're saying, you will go to hell. I love black people. I want them to know Christ. And currently, there are not enough black men in America, Christian men, who know enough theology to be able to be qualified to pastor black churches.
So, you know what that sounds like to me? It sounds a whole lot like Joel Webbon telling you that black people are stupid. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't hear anything besides that in the words that he's saying. Now, he would like you to believe that that is not what he's saying, but I implore you to remember this is the man who wants there to be a little more racism in America, because the white folk are too trusting of those dang black people. Anyway, the Young Turks covered him ages ago, and again, because I was not able to find the actual video that I wanted to find, I am going to be stealing their content for this.
Oh,
that's
pastor, popular, all right, pastor.
Back in our church, and they've been in our church, and we know them, and they love the Lord Jesus Christ. Great. We're not talking about that person,
Right.
but we're talking about when you go into a crowd of people. If you go into a crowd of strangers, and they're white strangers, there's some danger. If they're black strangers, there is 30 times more danger.
I think we've actually covered that specific video before. I don't think this is the first time we've covered Joel Webbon going, actually, it's the blacks that are more dangerous whenever you go into a crowd of them. Now, as somebody who grew up in a primarily black neighborhood, I can tell you that blackness was never, not once, the reason that anything bad ever happened to me. Now, I experienced a non-zero amount of racism aimed at me because I was the one of like 2 white kids on the street, and even a small amount in the neighborhood at all. But that was few and far between, and enough that I could easily shrug that off. Nothing major at all. Anybody who's been in Montclair and Pensacola can tell you what the makeup of the neighborhoods there are, unless it's changed fundamentally since I was there. The reason that anything bad ever happened to me had more to do with the fact that it was a poor area and not to do with the fact that it was a black area. Because nobody ever attacked me because I was that white kid. I was only attacked in situations where I had a bicycle or an iPhone or something worth money. That means it has nothing to do with the race. It has everything to do with the economic disparities in the area. It has everything to do there. That would have been the case had anybody in there been white or black or any other race. From experience, as somebody who grew up getting mugged and attacked and stolen from and all that shit, it never not once was because the people were black. Suzu says maybe it's 30 times more dangerous for him because he starts randomly accusing them of not knowing enough Christian theology. Yeah, maybe it is in fact that much more dangerous for Joel Webbon because they see him and they're like, oh yeah, you're that guy that looks really good in a white hood. Fenix says, I mean, maybe because I am black, but I feel safer around black people. I think there is because I had a friend years ago who had this same opinion. His best friend was black, but he still felt less safe around black people. And when I asked him, this was in high school, I asked him, like, hey, just out of curiosity, have you ever been attacked? No. Okay. So why are you scared? You have no prior history. You have no information to go off of that says that you should be scared. So why are you scared? And the reason ultimately ends up being that people like Joel Webbon, because there's always going to be some generations Joel Webbon, people like him stoke fear, and that fear becomes generational. Your parent watches a pastor, respects the pastor, and then regurgitates the things the pastor says. You hear those things, you watch your parents, you respect your parents on some level, and so you start saying the same things. You start having similar opinions. Tale as old as time. It is a cycle that repeats over and over again. And until we live in a world that has no Joel Webbons that are able to influence culture, will we ever actually be truly free of that? Or if we have Joel Webbons, we get to make fun of them so much that they lose all of their ability to influence basically instantly. And that's not me saying that Joel Webbon shouldn't exist. I want him to exist. I want him to change. I want him to be a fundamentally different person. But the idea, the platonic ideal of the Joel Webbon archetype, the racist Christian caricature, that thing needs to be a thing of the past. It should have died around the time that the civil rights movement got a leg. And yet, it still persists, and it still influences voting blocks, and that's terrifying. But I do always want to take an opportunity to make fun of it, because there is one word for people who are terrified of other people based entirely on their skin color. Coward. The word is coward. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitt, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.